Good afternoon, day 2 of commsHERO week, and it's our first fireside chat of the week. And I'm delighted to be joined by Lynda Thwaite, who's an exec director, and she'll tell you where and more about herself shortly. But this session, this fireside chat, is all about this commsHERO t-shirt. We don't just do pink and fluffy, and it's all good fun to call out comms, and I'm sure many of you in the audience and people watching on playback will have heard this. And it's said in jest, just as a throwaway passing comment, but the cumulative, what is the cumulative effect of these comments? And how do we claim as comms people, as a comms profession, how do we claim the rightful strategic place of comms in our workplaces? And how do we call out people who try and undermine our great profession? So in this fireside chat with Lynda, we're going to look at how we maintain building trust and relationships as comms heroes whilst redefining new boundaries that prevent the erosion of comms as authority. So Lynda, it's fantastic to welcome you, and thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Asif. When you've just read that out, it's just freaked me out, and I wrote it, but it's a typical comsy overview of what we're going to talk about. It sounds really grand, doesn't it? Let's keep it a bit more low key. I apologise for the intro.
No, it's fantastic. And if you've got the audience, if you've got any questions, comments, fire them away as usual, and we'll pick those up at the end. So, Lynda, let's tell the audience a bit more about what's your role today, and tell us a bit more about your journey to get here.
Okay, thanks, Asif. So, first of all, I should fangirl a little bit because I am commsHERO fangirl. I'm sure everybody who's joining today is. So, firstly, a big thank you for setting up the community. I don't think you'll ever quite understand how empowering it is to have commsHERO behind us as a comms community. So, thank you to you and to your dedicated team for doing that, Asif. I'm an exec director, which means I'm one of 10 people who lead Sir Robert McAlpine, which is a construction company. It's a 153-year-old family, and the table with me. I look after brand communications and social impact, and the people who sit around the table with me are the CEO, the CFO, the commercial director, the managing directors, and the head of people and infrastructure. So I say that not to show off, because although we should give ourselves some kudos as comms people for getting there, but I say that because the belongs at that table, and sometimes we don't always believe that. And I got there by your normal route, which is went to uni, decided that was rubbish, so got about 6 jobs in 12 different bars and on reception. In Jaguar offered me a management course when I was 18, 19 instead of uni, and I thought, great, I'm going to do that instead. And then I slowly climbed my way through event managers, comms managers, internal comms managers, senior comms manager, head of external comms, blah, 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 to this point. So I hope that's a bit helpful that of a journey, and maybe some people who are watching are already on that journey too.
No, that's fantastic. And you've there's many fans, adoring fans who will follow you on LinkedIn and Twitter who have shared some of that journey. And it's interesting, Lynda, you said you mentioned a top table. That's certainly something that in the leadership session with Lee Griffith and Carrie-Anne Wade just before us, they were talking about it, and it's something that everyone talks about all the time. And it's great to actually be here with you, hearing from somebody who is at the top table. And so tell us, why do you think there's a common misconception that comms is pink and fluffy? And you promised us we're going to have honesty from you today and your authentic self. So yeah, we're pulling no punches here.
No, well, we never do. Who's got time for that? Who's got time? Right, so misconceptions. Sometimes we do ourselves no favours, myself included. I think that there are often times I can walk into an organisation and tell who the comms team are, which is really judgy. But sometimes we look and act a certain way. There's a misconception that we're pink and fluffy because we're creative, we're positive, we're people pleasers. So I think if you're a people pleaser and you want to do well and you want to do a good job, people sometimes perceive that as weakness, and therefore that weakness turns into, in a professional environment, people thinking it's not important. I also think there's a misconception that comms is pink and fluffy, because sometimes we are not proud enough ourselves of our own specialism and expertise. So sometimes we do, in that people pleasing environment or in a business environment, sometimes we submit more than we should, rather than demand the respect that the specialism deserves. So I do think sometimes we're doing it to ourselves, but that is because, you know, we've had it done to us and we've got used to that. So things like this community and helping one another are particularly important, because we have to stamp out the misconception that we're pink and fluffy. We have to make it difficult for people who make us feel that way, because that's the only way we're going to change it.
And what's the best example of how comms, in fact, is the total opposite of pink and fluffy for you, Lynda?
I mean, well, we've just been through it, haven't we, COVID? But in any crisis is the biggest and best example that I've got for how not pink and how not fluffy comms is. I work in construction. When somebody dies on site, and it happens, unfortunately, the first people they call are the people who run that project and me. It's not very fluffy when you hear that somebody's not going home to their family that night because of a terrible, tragic accident. Yeah. And I think the criticality of comms at the point of crisis is everything we need to explain how important we are. Look at COVID. I mean, who's still knackered from that? I'm knackered. It's not stopped. Like we all ran to our laptops and we figured out how to hold people's emotions, give them the information they need, try and stop the panic. You know, it was comms sat right in the middle there. We were like the business front line, if that makes any sense. And that's not to diminish the real front line in any way. I hope that that's not how it sounded. But crisis for me is the best example of how it doesn't get less pink and fluffy than when somebody dies or people's lives are at risk.
Yeah, and I spoken to quite a few comms people for the commsHERO podcast, talking about the pandemic and how they coped with it, and a lot of those people had said that they were suddenly elevated into what they call, some of them called them into, you know, war rooms, where all of a sudden their exposure to the C-suite and the CEOs and whichever other execs you want to list was very arm's length, where it was done through written proposals and they were either accepted or declined, etc., etc. But all of a sudden they were thrust into these war room scenarios where they were actually sat there at this top table, and this pink and fluffy element, as you've mentioned there, has been completely removed. What advice would you give there? Because those people were kind of, as I say, thrust into those environments without that training of, wow, I'm now here with all the C-suite and execs who are people on an organization chart that I have to upload onto a website and things like that. You know, how did they cope with stuff like that? Especially it happened for real life. If there's another crisis like that, how do new commsHERO people entering the profession, how do they cope with stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. I think you've got to trust that you are the expert in your role and you're in that room in the first place. If they've brought you into that room, there is a gap in their knowledge, awareness, insight. They need what you've got to say. Yeah, or they wouldn't be asking. If they thought they had it all, you know, figured out, they wouldn't be asking you. So you need to be confident that you're in there for the right reasons. Yeah, and you need to know that it's okay. And this is the one thing I'm going to be totally honest. Since I moved to that room, I've been doing more coaching, more self-help, more reading than ever before to try and figure out how to be good in that room. You know, and everyone else's perception of it is, oh, it's great. You should have always been in that room. Gosh, yes, say more, Lynda, say more. And I'm like, oh, I think I've got something to say. I think you have to believe that your skills have got you to that point. And it's okay also to be able to say, yes, I can advise on this. This is what I think we should be doing. And it's also really important to be able to say, that's not an area I feel comfortable advising you on, well, that's not something I have enough information to tell you about right now, because nobody's perfect. And I think as comms professionals, we are quite perfectionist in our nature, and we believe that everything has to be absolute and 100% before it warrants anybody else ever looking at it, or before we press send. Well, the same in that room, you know, we can't operate waiting for 100%. You've got to just give it your best and know that that's okay, and that's enough. Also, I would say, it took me a while to realize this, and I send a virtual hug to the people I sit around that table with. It took me a while to realize that they are just people, just humans, you know, that they've got, you know, I was going to try not to swear too much, but fuck it, acid. You know, they've got shit going on at home as well. You know, there are some days they don't want to be there. There are some days they're doubting themselves, you know, just the same as you. And that sounds really simple, but to feel that and know it and have that clunk into place is a very different thing. So our comms professionals have to walk into any room knowing that the space they take up is as absolutely as vital and as valid as everybody else's.
Yeah, and the emojis have gone off. Love hearts all over the place. And Rachel Miller, yes, so true, Lynda, well said. Nigel Taberna, who's one of our speakers, soft skills is such a misnomer, and Jules Loveland agrees. So you're absolutely bang on there, and you're obviously passionate about that and those human elements. Now, I wanted to pick up, Lynda, on the human element of, you've mentioned there, of the other execs. That's what they are, and that's what you are as an exec director representing comms at that top table. We were talking before about when you are in that position of leadership, the self-help bit and looking after yourself. Is that, how do you do that? You know, and how does do you do it? How do you do it? Do people need to be aware of what happens when you're in those leadership roles and you're now responsible for teams of people, where the natural instinct is to look after them first?
Yeah. Do you know what? This is an ongoing battle for me, I think it would be safe to say. And I try and stop every Sunday and make a weekly plan of how I'm going to look after myself. And even if I only achieve a couple of the things on that list, then that's good. But I find the discipline of making a weekly plan for myself helpful, although I can berate myself horrifically if, you know, I don't actually do it fully. I think the more senior I've got and the more stressful things I've got, the worse I've been at it, in all honesty. So I was saying to you before, you know, I used to do long distance running. Now, if I get out and do a 5K, I'm absolutely delighted with myself. But, you know, the thought of running 2.5 hours 10 years ago was nothing. And now that's massive. So my fitness has declined. I would say that my education about my mental wellness has gone up. There's a guy in my team who some comms heroes might know, Arno, who is a strong advocate for meditation. I agree with him. I think it's really, really helpful. There are some times I'm in a period right now where I'm not doing any meditation because I'm too stressed to do it. Does that make, which is when you should do it. But
yeah.
So I battle constantly with trying to put myself on my own to-do list. Every now and then my sister will send me a text saying best for Lynda, because I'm always thinking, right, what's best for the business, what's best for my team need me, you know, they're going through some stuff, and you just fall to the bottom of the list. I fall to the bottom of the list. In all honesty, I eat badly, probably drink a little bit more wine than I should, you know, and I don't move as much as I should. So I'm constantly having to tell myself to put myself back to the top of the list, move a little bit more, eat a few more vegetables, put the crisps away, back away from the Malbec. It will not help. You know, it's a constant battle, but it is essential. And we were at an exec meeting recently, and our CEO said to us, you know, there's a lot going on at the moment. Can you all make sure you look after your health and well-being? And I was like, oh, that's so important. That's so important that he said that, because it almost gave me permission to think, right, well, yeah, I can go for a walk. I can leave this desk. Yeah. I can, you know, so it's an ongoing battle. I wish I'd mastered it, but you have to be on your own to-do list, otherwise, it does fall apart quickly.
Yeah, I don't. You're certainly not alone. The comments that are just coming through from that little insight there. Certainly, we don't just do pink and fluffy. Is the title of the session, and if this isn't proving it, and we should send this recording out to all the non-comms people to see that this is exactly what this job is. Jules Loveland having a weekly plan is a great idea, because if nothing else, it's a weekly reminder that you matter. Vicky Humphreys. True. Yeah, Vicky Humphreys, thank you for being so honest, Lynda. Jules, again, thank you for your vulnerability, Lynda. Alison Lawton, that's the trap, isn't it? As the need to improve your well-being gets greater, the time to be able to deal with it diminishes. And Nia Rolf, loving the honesty. Just loving the honesty. Also, Malbec for the win.
Malbec for the I need to back away from the Malbec people. I heard something recently. I can't remember if it was in an exercise class, because I'm a complete Peloton junkie as well. Honestly, if you are privileged enough to earn enough money to get yourself a Peloton subscription, which I'm grateful to, so it's just worth it to listen to them and not just move sometimes. But I think it was one of their instructors said, "Can you swap out? I don't have time to." So I don't have time to walk. I don't have time to it doesn't matter. And that really blew my mind recently. I was like, right, well, if I, instead of saying I haven't got time to look after myself, I changed it to it doesn't matter if I look after myself. That was like a bit of someone kicking me in the stomach and really helped.
So Peloton, Malbec for the win, and Peloton if you can do it.
Yeah, I should get endorsements. Is that possible? Can we send this to them?
You on replay, you can catch Frank Sinclair, because he's got a nice 10-minute session that, to be honest with you, they're really relaxing and quite easy to do as well. So have a go at them. You can catch them on replay for a whole year. Just get one of those 10 minutes a day with Frank Sinclair. So I'm going to ask you, Lynda, have you experienced your role being misunderstood? And if you have, how did you respond to that?
Yeah, I have, in a number of ways. So I think there's two things, isn't there? One is a genuine misunderstanding of what communications do. I think sometimes we just assume, because we know what we do, that people understand it and get it, and they don't. And, I have had a million conversations which is why I love Helen Reynolds' drawing so much, because I had so many of those conversations where I've gone in guns blazing, like, really great to meet you. Can't wait to hear about the markets that you're wanting to push in, the clients. What matters to your clients? Let me get some message. I've been all like, woo! And then they've just sat and listened and then gone, we just really want that newsletter. And you think, so it's so true that, and I used to get really wound up. I still get wound up, but now I understand that actually maybe they don't understand our potential and how us doing our job well would add value to them and add value to the business. So I'm probably a little more patient in how I explain it now than I used to be. Although when some of my team watch this back, I know they're going to be questioning that point. But I have had it misunderstood in that way, of the strategic potential. And then I think it's also, let's be honest, that some people want to diminish what we do for a living because it makes them uncomfortable, because they don't have what we have. They don't understand what we do. And so it's really easy to kick comms, say, the comms is crap, or comms aren't really important, or comms, oh God, here's the fun squad. It's really easy to do that. It's a bit, like bullying tactics in school, isn't it? It's easy for them to do that than them to sit and say, actually, I really don't understand how you engage with an audience, so I'm just gonna diminish the skill set of those that do.
Well, we created commsHERO as a community, a safe space for comms people to talk about things like this, and I'm pleased that you've done that, Lynda, because it's really important that we have an environment where we can talk about those requests that we get, which adorn many a commsHERO t-shirt. Can you just put it up? Can you make it go viral? Like, these things just happen in an instant. Or treating you as the colouring in department. So there's loads of emoji love going on, and there'll be people watching this back on replay as well. And before I go into the final question, I wanted to, Lynda, you spoke at our first ever commsHERO week 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, and that was you've got a concept of a bucket now, haven't you? Just share with our new audience, or anyone who's seen this before, you'll love this. Anyone who hasn't seen it, you're going to love it as well. So let's just share that. That's an unprompted question. So go on, Lynda.
It is. I didn't know you were going to bring it up, but yes, we can take an awful lot of flack. Did you see how I didn't swear there? I'm very proud of myself. We can take an awful lot of flack as comms people, and we can be put upon, and we can be asked to do things that diminish our skill sets, or we can be asked to do things that are absolutely impossible with the lack of information they've been given, and we could be treated really badly. And we are positive, people-pleasing, high EQ people, and it's really hard to deal with that on a day in, day out basis. So I have a fuck it bucket, which sounds awful now that I think of it. But when this happens, and when I get treated like that, or when something doesn't go quite as I want, I grab it virtually, I roll it up, and I chuck it in the fuck it bucket, and I move on. Because if you don't, you will go mad. So get yourself a fuck it bucket, maybe even make your own sign. I'm presuming that everyone on this call would be great at making the sign for it. And chuck all the crap in there, and chuck all the people in there that don't give you the respect and recognition that you deserve. They can live in your room.
Brilliant. Some great gifts from that one. And I had to bring that one out. It's something that needs to come, everyone needs one. So
everyone
get yourself one, definitely. Rounds of applause there as well. So fantastic. There's a hashtag coined, and even somebody's put can we have a leaflet? I love that. And
my whole team have got bucket t-shirts. They say simply the best comms team on the back, and chuck it in the bucket on the front. They have.
Absolutely brilliant. That is amazing. So let's go with it to kind of wrap things up. What's the best advice you can give to comms professionals to secure their rightful place in an organization?
Okay. First bit, figure out if you definitely want it. I'm not going to lie, it's not easy. That you don't get an exec job because it gets more fun. It's really tough, but we're already in tough jobs. So decide if you really want it. Believe that you deserve it. Believe that our profession deserves it. Yeah. And recognize what we have as comms people that nobody else has. And we have the most amazing marriage between EQ and IQ. I work with amazingly intelligent people that have got awful emotional intelligence. As comms people, that is instinctive and intuitive to you. You are understanding of the impact of things, the effect, what's needed. Do not take that for granted. So few people have it, and you have the IQ to deliver it. So bring those two skills together and hold your space and push the way you think comms should be in your organization. If you are not represented well on your board or on your exec team, those arm's length papers that Asif was talking about, if you're not represented well, you need to show them that you're the person to represent it. And eventually someone with enough leadership skills will actually put you in the right place. And until then, and on your way, use this community to help you get there. I rely on it. I find it so encouraging and so supportive. So I hope that other people can too. I will help you if you need it. Just let me know.
That's amazing, Lynda. Apparently the Fuck It Bucket is available in the middle aisle of a well-known supermarket chain.
Really?
No, it's not.
But we'll have to create
one. So that'd be amazing if that actually happened. Somebody get onto that supermarket and tweet them and tag them in. Let's see if we can make it happen. Brilliant. But Lynda, that was an absolutely amazing session. I've got to ask the audience there, please just huge emoji love, rounds of applause, love hearts, etc. for Lynda, for the openness and honesty and sharing your vulnerable, authentic self with us, which is very inspirational. And look, what an inspirational session. There we go from Alex Harvey. So we got, I'm just going to scroll through the comments, and also Jules has offered, Jules Loveland, I'm just going to scroll back up to somebody, Daryl Sperry's actually said, "Hi, Daryl, love my Peloton." His handle is Hard Numbers D. For any of the Peloton members, Hard Numbers D it is.
Write it down, Daryl.
That's Daryl's company name, by the way. It's not. Doesn't mean anything else. Just to clear that up.
Got it.
And I'm trying to find Jules's comment. I was going to do some super short nervous system regulation exercises for Comms Pros free. Would people be interested? Quick ways to de-stress you, so you can be grounded enough to make good decisions. Let me know. Definitely is the huge wave of responses. Jules, thank you so much for that. That's appreciated. And all that remains, Lynda, thank you so much once again. And I urge everyone watch this back on replay. I'll be doing that this evening to be inspired for a second time. So thank you so much.
You're a gem, Asif. It's a pleasure to be here. Enjoy the rest of commsHERO week, everyone.